as men, we have to talk more. We have to dialogue. It has to be okay for us to talk about our feelings, talk about our emotions.
Hi everyone, it's Dr. Tosh and Wiley Funeral Homes, and we are here at the Our House Garage in the Remington area of Baltimore. We want to say thank you to Noisy Tenants for sponsoring this special series. Now, one of the things I love about Noisy Tenants is their belief in community. And so with Noisy Tenants, they believe that each community should dream big and make it real. So today we have a very special series, and we talked about this, mental health for men, especially the Black man. And we are so excited to have Tsanonda Edwards here with us today. And I'm excited that you're gonna have an opportunity to tell your story and your journey. So thank you so much for being here to talk about Black men and mental health.
Thank you for having me, absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for a living and what I think is your life's work?
Excellent. So again, my name is Tsanonda Edwards. I am the author of the book, The Extraordinary Mr. Nobody, A Beginner's Guide to Self-Healing. I'm also the proud co-founder and director of community engagement for Above It All, which is a mental health organization assisting young people ages 5 to 17 with their mental health obstacles.
Absolutely, which, by the way, your book is excellent. And so my hope especially is that this book is doing what I think you intended for it to do, which is to really reach groups of people that often feel unheard. And so that's one of the purposes of this series, you know, because we talk about mental health a lot, and we're doing this with Operation Heal, but we knew that there was a specific group that needed to be heard, which is our Black men. And so, if comfortable, could you share a bit of your story?
Yes. So one of the things that you actually just said is huge. It's important. It's about being heard. It's about people having a voice, individuals having a voice. And it definitely took me a little while to feel like I deserved to be heard, to feel like I had a voice. And one of the primary reasons for that was my father. Had an amazing relationship with my father. He's a Vietnam veteran, hard worker, really big on education and making sure that his children and his family was in a good place. But again, that education piece was really important to him. I think my story with regard to grief in particular probably starts when I was maybe 12 years old. I received a phone call, my brother and I received a phone call from my father. And at the time we were attending a private school. So my father gave us this call and he said, you know, I feel bad about having to let you all know this, but I'm no longer able to pay for the education, for your education at this private school. And I kind of think back to that, and I'm thinking in terms of how difficult it had to be for a father, for a man, to feel like it's me. I have to be the one to tell my children this. So he told us that, and our reaction probably wasn't what he expected. We actually responded in a way just excited. We were kind of excited to leave the private school setting. Our thinking was, you know what, we'll get to go hang out with our cousins now. We're going to public school. Oh, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be crazy, right? And so he was hurt. He was obviously hurt, frustrated. He got angry. And he kind of said, I can't believe that you guys are really ready to be out of private school, but that's what's going on. Fast forward, maybe 3 to 4 months later, my dad committed suicide. And it was obviously shocking. It was something that I actually carried with me for years after that. Just thinking about it, a 12-year-old, lost my dad, and then we literally just had that conversation about him not being able to pay for the education, probably not feeling like he was able to take care of his children in the way that he wanted to. So again, for years, I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I was the catalyst for my father's suicide. You add on to that the fact that at the time I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So my mother was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So of course I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And what that meant was we also couldn't attend the funeral. We couldn't attend the funeral, right? So we did get an opportunity in a quiet session to go see my dad. I think it was at Lee Royal Diet and Son, I think it was, the funeral home. Private, just a private kind of viewing, my brother, my mom, and I. But again, we didn't get a, opportunity to engage with family at all. Again, didn't get to go to the funeral, things like that. So, and it's interesting because for a while, you know how you don't always have the immediate rush of feelings and the immediate rush of hurt, especially because we were, at the time, my mom and dad were divorced. So my mom, single mom, raising her boys, and so we didn't see dad every single day, right? So immediately it didn't really hit, but then after like a month or 2 or 3, and you don't see dad, and dad was very active, like we got to go see him every other weekend, and of course just randomly he would come pick us up from school and go hang out. Teaching us sports, different things like that. So after a while, you feel that, So it was definitely a struggle. At times it caused anger, frustration. In my personal life, my relationships with others, my relationship with my mom was strained because of it. And then as time goes on, again, you do look for that healing. But I specifically remember middle school then being a struggle. Then you go into high school, and you're looking for those times when dad, when you're really looking for dad to be there to support you, and he's not there. And then not only that, you have friends who have their dads in their lives. So you kind of do, you kind of take those fathers on as surrogate fathers almost. But it's nothing like your own, right? And then again, you're still battling, it's my fault. The guilt.
Absolutely.
I'm the reason my dad decided to leave Earth, right? And it's again, it's really heavy. But I didn't find out until literally almost 20 years later that my dad was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, manic depression. And I'm also going to assume that he probably dealt with PTSD, being an Army veteran, fighting in the Vietnam War, absolutely. He probably suffered from that as well. But having that clinical diagnosis meant to me that he had his own battles, he had his own struggles, and it gave me an opportunity to really start my healing process. Because as you know, it's not like you can hear that and then everything's over, I'm fine, I'm healed, everything is good. It doesn't work that way. But it allowed me to start my healing process, and that's where we are today.
Thank you for sharing so much of your story, but there are so many things that I hear, right? And you think about your father as a Vietnam War veteran, and I connect with that. My father, who's passed away, is a Vietnam veteran, and so they often did things, I would almost say very extreme, but to them very noble for their family.
Absolutely.
That to another person doesn't make any sense, but it's noble for them, right? I want my sons to be in private school. And so when they are seemingly okay with me almost giving a failure, I'm angry because I don't know why they don't see the importance of it. And so then we get to, and we have to be very matter of fact, so many of our black men were drafted in Vietnam and to go to this war to then return to a country that did not love them. And that's just a fact. That's not something that's up for debate, right? And so you're home with PTSD, not being treated because our black men didn't get the same sort of services and care. And so many of our black men went untreated with mental health needs, and sometimes it developed into addiction or anger and rage that would often present itself instead. And so you have your father's journey of that. And so many of our black men at that time suffered every day without telling anyone, because we always told our black men don't cry. And we tell our boys now, don't cry, you being like a little girl. So now he becomes a man, and literally then his way to fix it for his family is to leave this world.
And what you're saying, Dr. Tosh, is so profound for me. I think about it in terms of we are big on resilience.
Right.
We're big on, having this this grit.
Grit.
Having, you know what I mean? Like
Grit.
we're big on those things. But the sad truth of it is we shouldn't have to rely on that
Absolutely.
to live
Absolutely.
life. We overextend ourselves. We turn to these coping mechanisms. And generally with men, these coping mechanisms are almost seen as okay. Like it's better to just use your coping mechanisms, be resilient, and just kind of go that route through life. And when I'm talking about coping mechanisms, I'm not talking about the healthy coping mechanisms,
Right.
like us having a dialogue, having a conversation, getting a therapist. Instead, it's generally the negative coping mechanisms that are okayed in the Black community, especially with regard to men. And when I say okayed, I don't mean that everyone thinks it's okay, but it's almost acceptable.
Right.
You have a lot of men who drink, become alcoholics.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of men who decide to go the route of drug abuse.
Yep.
You have men who, again, decide to go that route, and generally, that's okay with your friends. Oh, you going to drink tonight? Yeah, that's what's up. Go ahead, do your thing. Oh, you know what I mean? And then sometimes you kind of engage in those types of activities with your friends. And I really believe that it's going to be important for us to get to a point where we are not just shifting the narrative. We talk about shifting narratives all the time. Yes, we have to shift the narrative about it, but we literally have to shift our way of thinking. We have to shift our way of action. We have to shift what we do, literally. We have to get to a point where we're opening up more. We're talking. We're letting our friends know exactly how we're doing. We are, and I'm big on this because I have an amazing group of friends who I can talk to about anything. Not only can I talk to them about anything, they can talk to me about anything, and it's healthy. I remember there was a time, and I'm going to say this sadly at the risk of sounding sexist, where we would say, women, they do a whole lot of talking, and that's the problem.
Absolutely.
They talk too much. They always talking about things. And literally, that's literally the kind of path that we need to start following.
Yeah.
As men, we have to talk more. We have to dialogue. It has to be okay for us to talk about our feelings, talk about our emotions, tell our friends, you know what? And this is something that we talk about often. Am I feeling sensitive, man? I'm going to give you a scenario. Am I being sensitive about this, or what do you think? Having those dialogues, having those conversations, because those are the things that will again keep us away from the negative coping mechanisms, and will kind of serve as again a pathway to us doing healthier things like conversations with a Dr. Tosh, which can kind of enlighten us, help us kind of get something. And sometimes the venting process, just sometimes talking to your friends about what's going on with you, it literally allows you to kind of walk yourself through a process. It's almost like a reflection period.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going through things, you're talking about things, and it allows you to reflect, be honest about some stuff, and kind of check yourself. And we need to start doing that. We need to start doing it on a regular basis. Kind of say, you know what, I'm not okay right now.
Yep.
Can you offer some guidance? What do you think about this? Those are the things that kind of help us along. And we really have to change that in ourselves.
Absolutely. And you know, it's a part that you brought up that, you know, I think just in hearing your journey, right? So you've gone through this loss, 20 years of really dealing with guilt, right? That shaped so much of your calling, but has also shaped relationships and interactions with others that people often don't think about, right? So we get to being adults, and you were talking about, not at the risk of sounding sexist, and I didn't take it that way, because we do have to discuss oftentimes our interactions and the dynamics between the Black man and the Black woman, right? Because what happens is, and as Black women, especially as Black mothers, we have to own our part in that, right? We have to own that a couple of things sometimes happens when we look at mental health with our Black boys. We chastise them if they're sensitive, and we say, don't be like a girl, right? So the message then says, don't cry, because that makes me a girl. Or then, if we are co-parenting, we sometimes blame the child for whatever relationship did not work. And so then I might punish my child by not seeing their father because I have an issue with the man, not the father, right? So we have that dynamic. But then we also have when we don't allow our mental health to really start healing, we then enter these adult relationships. And what people don't realize, and you and I both know this, you love a person at the space they're at emotionally. And you might be 40, but you are loving your partner at 15. And that's so important for people to understand, because what we know about trauma is a part of our emotional development stunts at that space of trauma until we heal. And so, yes, he's 40 and we're okay and we love each other, but there are times that he seemingly responds like a teenage boy. And it frustrates me because in my mind, he's a man, he's an adult man. But I'm loving, and I've got to love you really have to love that sometimes out of someone, but you love it with action, right? I don't help you heal if I ignore it. I don't help you heal if I don't say, you know what, I love you so much that I want you to talk to somebody. Because it can't be me. And I don't know about you, but in relationship, especially when you are a helping professional, right? People get oftentimes what I would say is the worst of us, because it's the part of us that no matter how many friends you have, no matter how much family you have, it's that innermost part of us that's the most vulnerable. Because we see people every day who are at their worst, at their most vulnerable, and then we're looking to give that to someone else. I want to trust you enough for you to see the worst in me. And so you talked about how that has affected relationships for you. So I wonder for you as an adult then, how did you have conversations in relationship about that and what that meant for you?
That's a great question. I look at things, and you said it, it is, especially when you're in helping professions, I think that a lot of times you kind of feel like you're on a stage.
Yes.
You gotta perform, right?
You're on all the time.
You gotta be on, you gotta be ready, you gotta be excited. I have to bring the joy. I have to, this is something that I've heard you say, Doc, I have to bring the healing.
Yep.
That's what I'm here to do.
Absolutely.
I have to bring it. So when you feel that way, obviously it's a good thing in terms of, and I remember being younger and wanting to be that person that, you know what, when I walk into a room, I want people to smile. I want people to say, hey,
yes,
here comes Tsanonda.
I connect with that, absolutely.
You want to be that person,
yes.
right? And so again, you feel like it's a performance, and it's a great one in terms of, again, wanting to be the healing, wanting to help. The problem is eventually, you got to kind of come down off that joy high. You got to come down off that love giving, that healing high. You kind of come down from it. And a lot of times it's our intimate partners that kind of catch the brunt of that. I know my wife says it all the time. She'll tell family members, they'll, what, Tsanonda? He's what? He does what? Yeah, he doesn't feel like coming out this time. Tsanonda doesn't want to come out. He doesn't want to hang out. Nah, he just wants to kind of chill. He wants to be by himself, because again, sometimes that's how I recharge. I go to what I call my cave for a minute. Go to my cave so that I can recharge myself. So again, like you said, sometimes our intimate partners are the ones that really catch the brunt of that. But I think you also said something that was extremely important. When we do find that one who we can open up to and we can be honest with, and again, I'm going to say this especially for Black men, because we're often expected to be so hard. We're often expected, again, to be resilient, to have that grit. And I believe that's something that's asked of Black people in general.
Absolutely.
All the time. But for me, especially for our Black men, we're asked to kind of put on this facade of never-ending strength. So when you do find someone that allows you to be vulnerable, that allows you to be honest, and also at the same time hold you accountable for your healing. You said it. I can't be that therapist for you, but I will support you in your healing process. I will be understanding, and I will support you in your healing process. That's extremely important. It also, and then to kind of sort of change the channel a little bit to outside relationships. I remember in dealing with my father's suicide, this was something that my therapist pointed out to me. I was a people pleaser. I became a people pleaser, but especially for men. When I worked for or with men, I wanted to make sure they knew, yes, I can handle anything you give. I can do it. I'm going to tackle every task. I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to give you 200%. 100% is not enough. I'm going to give you 200% at the expense sometimes of myself. Yeah. So again, like you're saying, those traumas that we deal with, at whatever age we deal with them, we are until we get into that healing process and we push ourselves to start and continue that healing process, sometimes our relationships, whether those are intimate relationships, our friendships, and our professional relationships, are all impacted by whatever traumatic situations we've gone through. So that's why it's important, again, for us to recognize these traumatic situations and do what we can to receive the help that we need and deserve.
Absolutely. You know, from one Morgan State alum to another, the Morgan State University. Let's be clear on, so no one confuses who the national treasure is.
That's right.
I want to thank you for this conversation. I say this with my identity as a Black woman. This is refreshing to hear and endearing. And I say to you how proud I am of you. And so I hope you receive that in the spirit in which I'm sending it to you, because I hear you talk and I've seen it for so long, but to be able to be authentic in your journey is a sense of peace that money can't buy. And so as we end, here's what I'm going to ask of you. What are 3 things that you want Black men to know?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is gratitude. Wake up with a sense of gratitude. The reality of the matter is life is not perfect. But when we can point to things that we can be grateful for, whether it's family, whether it's employment, what it is you do with your career, whether it's the fun that you have when you go out, because we need that as well, right? We need to be grateful for it. Even if it's literally just waking up in life, being grateful for life, being grateful for another chance. I think that's huge, it's big. So gratitude is the first thing. The second thing is, and we've kind of touched on it, your tribe. Make sure that the members of your tribe, your friends, your community, are people who you can trust, people who you can at times be vulnerable around. Doesn't mean that you don't have to do the work yourself. Doesn't mean that you give up on strength at all. It takes a strong person to admit their vulnerabilities. And it takes an even stronger person to not just admit it, but to get the work done, to start and again continue that healing process. So yes, make sure that your tribe is a big part of that. Make sure, and again, your tribe is the people who you get to choose. Your friends, your family. You don't get to choose your family, but make sure that the tribe that you're putting together is one that is very supportive of you. And the final thing that I'm huge on is self-care. Taking care of yourself, and it's something that I talk about often, is really getting in contact with what I call the nouns of you, the people, places, and things. Who are the people that you need to be around that's going to help you kickstart your joy? What are the places you like to go to? Is it a museum? Is it a movie? Where is it? You want to take a walk on a trail around the park? What are those places that, again, bring you joy? And then finally, what are those things? Is it the Bible? Is it a movie? Like, what is it? What are those things that you can get in contact with that will help you kind of, again, jumpstart your joy process? So absolutely, I would say gratitude, tribe, and self-care. You do those things, then you are definitely in a great space to get your healing. Absolutely.
Listen, it gets no better than that. You've heard the words from a Black man to our Black men. I thank you so much, and I am confident that our communities are in better hands because of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, it's me, Dr. Tosh. Thanks so much for tuning in to our Operation Heal series, all on Black men and mental health. I hope you've enjoyed. Now, first I want to make sure we thank our sponsor, Noisy Tenants, for this wonderful series. Don't forget to come down to our house here in Baltimore and grab a Noisy burger. Stay for community, food, and culture. Now, in order to watch us, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/Wiley Funeral Homes. Or you can follow us or go to our website at www.wileyfh.com/Operation Heal. Again, thank you so much for joining us with this special series on Black men and mental health. I look forward to more conversation with you, and I look forward to healing. I'll see you soon.